Welcome to After Monday podcast, and this is a new podcast. And as it is after Monday, it means we are recording this obviously after Monday because Mondays I do get busy, and on Mondays I've got a radio show. But then, hey, it's a new adventure, and we are here with After Monday. My name is Joy Nathu. It's a pleasure to have you watching us at this particular moment in time. And I've got a friend of mine who I'm going to allow him to introduce himself for several reasons. And I won't reveal the reasons, but I just want to hear his name because sometimes you know how it is. You would have friends and you just know each other as Biggie, Mana, Shab Madala. You wouldn't know their name. I'm in a space whereby it is happening. I've got a friend of mine, I don't know his name. So this is an opportunity for him to tell us his name.
Hi, everyone. This is Prince Wongani Chikweba.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because the Prince, is that a title or is that a name?
It is.
In what way?
It's a title.
In what way?
We are from the kingdom.
Which kingdom? There's no kingdoms in Malawi.
You know.
Which kingdoms?
Dude, you're a colored. You wouldn't understand.
So I've been mistreating you all this time. I didn't know that I'm hanging out with royalty.
No, because I mean, but we're not the same. Yeah, we're not the same.
Okay.
It's fine.
There's so many kings in Malawi. How come we don't know them as King Fumu?
Hey.
Is there a Chichewa translation for Prince though?
Mana Fumu, I think. That's the best I know.
But princess there is, yeah?
Fumugazi? No, Fumugazi is a queen, isn't it?
Fumugazi.
Yeah, Fumugazi should be a queen. But there should be. I think...
if there is none, that means it's not relevant. No, it's not relevant.
In terms of UJ. Iwe? Okay.
I should be asking you that. Iwe?
Okay. No, it's fine.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's good. But anyway, thanks and welcome once again to After Monday podcast. There's so many issues that we shall be sharing. And the first thing I'd like to, talk about is mostly the issue whereby people like us who are in this kind of spaces whereby we control. Let's say I've got a radio show and I'm here now on a podcast. I can come here and talk about anybody, anyhow, without them defending themselves. And it's happening a lot, Prince.
We are living in a very interesting times where I think the revolution in terms of everything, it's not just about media or creative space. I think generally we're in a space where the digital world is also telling us that we can create other spaces apart from the ones that we knew. So, all you need is a microphone, a camera, or even just a Facebook page or a Twitter page. And you can become an influencer or anything that you can create to create attention or I would say just a platform where you can actually say so much about so many things. There's a good way around it and there's also the bad thing around it. I think bypassing the normal or the generic journalism approach or systems or regulations, I think has allowed a lot of people to also be in spaces where now they're using the space they've created. Instead of creating a positive outreach, we're now creating it as a way to attack other people or other things. And I think that's when the conversation about gatekeeping comes in to say, okay, fine. Because we all know in journalism spaces, there's a lot of gatekeeping. You can know a lot about certain people, but you're not going to go on NBC as you to go and attack someone because you know something. There are people that look at, editors and producers that are saying, okay, Joy, we can't say that. You can't do that. Which to the new age or media platforms, it's a different conversation because everyone thinks that it's okay to go in a space and say what you would like to say because you have a platform. At the same time, we are forgetting that precedent can also come to haunt us. And that's why there were these gatekeeping mechanisms that were set to make sure that there's order that can be followed for generations and generations to come. So it's a good thing that the digital world is there. People can create content and they can also become influencers without actually going the formal route. but we have to remember what it actually looks like. And that means that we're creating almost like a unguided industry, which would actually destroy more than actually creating more. So it's a very interesting space. There are others that have actually used this digital space that is around for positive outreach, and it's really working out well. But once it comes at a space where it's the same conversation about the informal sector becoming formalized. So you having a podcast doesn't mean that all the activities should be informal. You can also create a sort of formality that allows you to work in an environment where you have a system that you can trust. And issues of legal lawsuits and everything, I think that's becoming almost every day. We're hearing about someone apologizing on what they said on a podcast because, like I said, for mainstream, you knew if I'm going to an interview with NBC or Times or Zodiac, you knew that there's certain things you can't say, certain people you can just attack, or certain even news stories that you'd have to make sure that if I'm talking about joy, I should make sure that the story is not just having one guy, Prince, talking about joy, but joy also has to be in the story. So that balance allowed that to be avoided. So, I mean, it's exciting, but also crazy. And again, you can be forcing people to do what you want them to do. So
we are learning a lot every day.
True.
But, yeah, maybe because I come from the traditional media,
Yeah.
as you've explained, to say that we've got there's so many the systems in check for the check and balances, whereby you just can go on or publish a story without someone cross-checking it to see if you've got so many special interests in the story, or you're writing it in a balanced for a way. Maybe that's why I'm getting too uncomfortable nowadays. I'm like so much. When I go on social media,
you got to look at it from this end. There's a lot of micro ideologies where microwave. You put food in there, 30 seconds or minutes, it's ready.
Yeah.
Which is fine. We're hungry for things, but at the same time, that hunger should be guided. All these platforms that are creating podcasts, very nice spaces, and they're so good because not all of us will be able to go on radio or on TV, in a newspaper to say our thoughts and people know what we actually do. But there has to be a level of understanding of what actually that means. Because what we're doing today is what others will use as a precedent in the next 5-10 years to come. So as far as we're in a free world, but we should remember the precedents we're setting. And there's a reason why the mainstream media had those systems and to make sure that they're able to grow something that even if it's not joy there, whoever's going to come, they have to go through that. And that made them to be sustainable in the long run. I think there are so many things as well in terms of gatekeeping that also could have been changed, which I fully understand, where it never allowed certain things to also be done. But in our way to change the system or influence it in whatever way, we should not forget why the system was set in the first place. So maybe when we are changing it, we can find ways to make sure that whatever goal that was supposed to be achieved is still being achieved, and which is being fair, not being biased, and making sure that you're not using your platforms to have other people on a disadvantage. Because if we're going to come here and start talking about people that are not here to defend themselves, we're not doing justice to anyone. We're actually thinking we're creating content, but we're actually creating a disorganized industry. And at the end of the day, this is what the masses will believe it is a standard of whatever we need to be creating. But in the long run, we'll have everyone opening their own podcast or social media pages or YouTube pages just because they have something to say about someone. And that's chaos. We can't run any industry like that. There's a reason why, like literally, minibus drivers, they have an association and everything. There's you can't just buy a minibus and today just go on the road and start driving it the way you want, charge it where you want. Because of those, small little systems, they are set because there has to be order. And that's how life is, If I just walk up today and get your phone and or whatever, without order, or go to your workplace and get your salary, that would be a chaotic world, There's a reason why, if it's Joy who is employed, he's the one to be, even as well, Even your dad cannot because of that system that was set. So I understand how everyone wants to really create something, but there has to be order. Somehow, whatever way that could be, there has to be.
Oh man, it's really getting interesting, I swear, because I think we understand in the sense that controversy sells. Yeah.
What
the world
selling?
over.
But what is selling?
Because
again,
likes.
You see,
yeah.
So what is that? I've always heard this part where a lot of people talk about. They say, "What? There's no such thing as bad PR," right?
People have been saying it, but people have grasped it wrongly. They're getting it wrongly. The grasping is totally wrong.
Okay. Again, this is why I say it. Everything has a reason. There's a reason why there were systems that were set up. So anything taken out of context becomes dangerous. I remember Trevor Noah was talking about if someone just walked up and started singing Umbrella Song by Rihanna, by just saying Ella, 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 something like that, you think that they're mad. But if you take it in the context of the instrumentation that was made, the rhythm and everything, and you actually listen to the song, you understand why someone would be attached to a song like that. Everything has a context. So the context for there's no such thing as bad PR is not ours. Because the context there was actually looking at the sales and in a showbiz business. So where we are as Malawians here, we haven't started to understand what actually showbiz is actually. Because here we don't consume showbiz, we consume gossip. These are two different things. You understand? So you'd think that people are talking about you, but not it's just you. There's no product that they're talking about of you. So for instance, if you're a musician...
So they're talking about you as a person.
Yeah, so there's no business to it. It's just gossip. It's just like, oh, Joy, that and that, but no one is talking about Metal Monday. It's a different conversation. You end up just...
It becomes personal.
In another world where they're developed, they're much ahead of us. If you are scandalous as an artist or whatever profession you have, that you have something that you sell, you can be a millionaire from those scandals. People outside fake their own death to sell albums. They'll get arrested, because the more that, there's their name being thrown in Google searches and everything, their music and everything, it will grow, But here, if you end up, let's say you're a musician and you album shop rights, because you have an album or you have a song premiering on Monday, people will say artist wakubauji. Then slowly as I'm going to talk about it's not even mentioned. Actually, this is the funny part about, let me tell you how funny it is in Malawi. So if you do something like that, so people will say, let's assume, what's the best way? I'm trying to find an artist's name. Who can we use
Mention yourself.
Okay, imagine I'm an artist and
because there's very good examples we can give of on the same context.
But I don't want
fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine I'm an artist and my name is as an artist, my name is Mfumu, right? If I do something like that, they'll actually write Mfumu, whose real name is Prince Chikweba, has been arrested or whatever. So you can actually understand that from the way even the media will report it, they're not going to talk about the artistry. They'll talk about me as a person. Already, you're already allowing people to take me as a person, and that we're not even selling anything then. Now people be like, they're not talking about my music. They're talking about me as a person who is now a thief, So already that is where the misconception of what that actually means becomes. And you have to be at a space where there's a lot of understanding of what that context is about. Other than that, Konogo, bad PR is actually bad PR. Because a lot of us, we don't have a lot of spaces to actually check whether something is true or not. We'll just say it's true. And it ends there. And it's now forwarded. There's no one who actually says, I actually seen this. Or there's a difference between Joy, the radio personality, and Joy as a father. People will just say, the product you're actually selling, people want focus. And I mean, we are very interesting space.
And we're going through different phases, which also, interesting to watch, because there was a time whereby there were so many stunts happening, many stunts, like almost on a daily. And then we've left that behind, and now we've moved on to probably we're going through a phase whereby we are now attacking each other for attention. I think attention is a very, very serious drug that needs to be taken in moderation. But I think we all crave attention because when we start getting attention, I think it makes us feel good. Apart from that, we feel like we're relevant. But I think we also tend to start wishing for more and more attention, which can divert our mission and vision. So I think you and I should take a bet on how soon will it be
before we start attacking people.
Because anyway,
it's an interesting space. Like I said, if I were to be maybe a bit rude, right, I would say, as an industry, and when I say as an industry, I'm talking about the creative industry. I think we're in the information or the knowledge phase where we have so much we're understanding and learning, but we're not paying attention to what is it that is actually for us. So if you go around and ask a lot of artists, a lot of creatives, you understand that they really know a lot, and a lot of it is because they've read about it, they've seen about it, but a lot of the things that they have read or found out has nothing to do with us. There's no context to say, okay, fine. If you ask them, they say, okay, in Nigeria, this is what they do. In South Africa, this is what they do. In America, this is what they do.
This is a very important issue.
But none of that information is actually going back to say, okay, fine, this is what Nigerians do. This is what South Africans do. What is it that we need to do
as Malawi
before we just get that and then put it in our system? Because they are some steps ahead of us. We don't have to catch up. We don't need to be in a hurry. We are where we're supposed to be. But it's okay as well to say, okay, fine, we know how they did it. Now, how do you use that information to grow whatever we need to grow here? Because that's it's how you can actually use whatever knowledge you have to get better.
That's a very huge argument that comes through when you meet certain people. They say that they do this in America. This is how contracts between show organizers and artists are coming are signed. This is how a record label signs artists. They do this in America. Now we're comparing ourselves with America, who did this in 1946.
Chief, that's where that's where I also want to be a student of understanding how to localize information that I know. And that's something that I am like, I need to keep learning and understanding how others have built their systems without actually just copying it and pasting it. Because what happens with that is when it's not working out, you become frustrated and you think that, no, I'm in the wrong industry. I think I've heard people say I'm working hard in a wrong country.
A lot.
Because you're not understanding that, to be fair, your mind has to remember that, yes, I still, let's for argument's sake, and forgive me for people that eat pork. I'm going to use this example. We need to be at a space where we understand the product we want to sell. Where? To who? We cannot sit here and forget that there's someone who properly is able to eat pork in Mangochi, in all these Muslim strongholds.
Mm-hmm.
They had to find a way to make sure that they don't insult the people that are within in those spaces, respect them in all accordance. Our way of handling things should not come from the expense of just, okay, because I heard or I saw And the conversations that end with no, but izinto zimayendera kuyendera chonchi. No. Zimayendera koma nova ziyende bwanji. That's where the challenge comes in. Even an issue like you talked about attention. There's no problem you as a creative wanting to create attention. I think that's fine. But what is it that you want attention for? Do you want it for gossip? Because if you are a musician, if your attention is for people to consume your music, then it makes sense. But if your attention is for you to be competing with, let's say, my pages and Migozi, you are also competing with like those.
Or even competing with influencers.
Influencers who are selling a different product than you. So you find that has made people to like, okay, attention is fine, but why are you getting it? Why are you craving it? Is it for your products or for you? Are you misguided in looking for it? The moment you are not answering those realities, it becomes now distortion. It becomes noise. Then you find that a lot of creatives, you go even on social media pages and platforms, or even just in town and ask and say, okay, do you know ABCD? They're like, yeah, I know them. But they don't know what they sell. I'm certain you can go on certain creative platforms. You go on their profiles. You don't see what they sell. You'd have to figure it out in a long time. Oh, okay, actually they sell this. Because what are we craving or creating that attention for? To what extent? What is it for? Because if your product, the one that you sell for, if I go on your Joy's page and all I see is almost like an influencer of some sort, you'd have to remind me that you're already a personality. So
that's why, that's why it gets tough when you try to post something that, I mean, you do this every day, you're posting every day this, and then you switch to become like an influencer.
Yeah.
And then the next day you want to post like, I'm going on radio.
Yeah.
The reaction is totally different because you've taken people to a different direction.
Yes. And that's why if you, so for argument's sake, if you're always misleading people on the product you sell, the day that you decide to sell your product, people will comment to the ones that they're familiar with. Mm-hmm. So that's why you end up seeing that, let's say, Joy, you're always talking about something that has nothing to do with you. And then that day you want to say, so today is Monday. Someone
on Monday tried to put a stupid comment on I was posting about a song. Mm-hmm. They tried to be funny. Mm-hmm. I blocked them.
It's just emotional. I don't think it's
why try to be both? No, why try to be more funny than me on my page? That's the issue. Come on,
no, but you see what I mean.
I get the point.
It was very easy for you to notice the his
even yes, because the comments the comments are the same. Yes,
Gambaza music, whatever you're posting, and then that one person comes in. You understand? But the funny part is, imagine if you're not, if your content was mostly about, let's say, nothing to do with whatever you sell, and then one day you want to say, okay, today is Monday, I'm going on, Mirror Monday. And then what do? They someone just starts commenting those silly comments because it makes sense. And one beef in one person, it'll be more people because they know you for that.
Now that video again,
exactly. I man you for 3, because of the. So we take it as a like when you do it once, you be like, it's fine, and then you do it. The mind is a very strong, it keeps memory properly and it pays attention without you even knowing that it's paying attention. And that's why some of the activities or things that we do, they're almost like reflex, So if I go on certain creative spaces and I write something silly, even for me to feel that I need to write it, it's because in my mind I've accepted that they're okay with this. There are people that kuti awandikauza maboza. Because over time they've made you know what they are about and what they cannot be about. And the way so kuti I can't do these things on this basis. So as creatives as well, it's the same thing. If your platform has been created to allow people think that certain things are acceptable to them, what would be the change? Everything will be the same. So whatever we do in like on a daily basis or whatever times that we do those things, it does get to a place where the mind is used to it and it can actually become a second-hand nature. Like no one has to think about it. That's who you have presented. And you start thinking, okay, why is it that if I post something silly, I have like 1 million people give me attention. If I post my product, it's just less people. So yes, I have the numbers, but what numbers do you have? Because again, like you, imagine you having maybe 1 million followers, but all of them you
I can mention the number of my followers. Don't try to give
do.
an. Don't try to be. Don't try to make.
Please let us know.
Don't try to make me be humble.
Please do let us know. How many followers do you have?
I only have got 7 followers to get to 600,000.
But now think about this. You're almost about 600,000 followers, right? So think about if those 600,000 only followed you because not of radio show, but because of your other activities that have nothing to do with what you sell. So imagine if you post, I'm on Monday today, and then only 20 of them.
They won't relate.
Understand?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean, that your core product should actually be reflected like in everything that you do. And that's when whatever attention you're trying to crave for will make sense to say, okay, Banoba, Artist Tuja is releasing an album. It makes sense why they're doing performances every now and then. That's the attention you're creating. Not the one that being all over here, because we think that that's what, yes, people talk about you, but what are they talking about? That's where the question is about. Yes, people will talk and the talking is nice. As Zigo ngati Malawi, it's a very small space. Zigo lo silima tumagambia na jitu chimodzi. The whole day. Like you go everywhere.
We have time.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got time.
But how many times have you had that? But and also, look at this. There have also been other products, like songs that the whole country is talking about. It means it's possible to actually have those people to talk about that.
It is.
So, again, what product are you selling? Because that will guide you to what kind of attention you crave for, you create for.
I think sometimes we wrongly look at other pages, other social media influencers and see what product they're selling, and we look at the numbers and we wish to be like them, and we take their language they're using, maybe the technique they're using in terms of the posting, and we start using it on our pages, which sometimes can have an effect.
You know, let me tell you a funny story. Mainstream media, and I'm talking about mainstream media. Let's mostly talk about print, right?
What?
Print media.
Oh, I thought you said prints.
Anyway, so print media was one of the biggest and professional.
At some point, yeah.
And newspapers used to sell a lot because almost every office, you know.
I remember when growing up, my father used to buy both newspapers every day.
And that was the transition, you know. So over time, things have changed. A lot of newspapers are really struggling, not just Malawi, but even outside the country. And a lot of them had to try and to be digital and everything.
Yeah.
So over time now, even themselves, even though they are digital, because now if it's the breaking news, for instance, there's a building burning now. News is right? While now, all these other pages have already posted.
Yeah.
So they had to invest as well digitally. But now what has happened is, even though they invested digitally, they are failing to beat, these other pages. Because like you say, the language, these other pages they use, they'll be like, they find a way. Stuff like that, you know? And sometimes they post things that have not been fully vetted, that it's actually the whole story.
Yeah.
What has happened now is the mainstream, which especially these newspapers, now they're trying to be like those pages.
Yeah.
Because they want also attention. Sometimes they just post a picture and not story. And people now have to start asking, if there's a story about maybe in a newspaper, it's talking about a news story, it's talking about maybe a police case, whatever, they'll get the PRO of that station who is, good looking or something, they'll find something that to create not just the story itself. So you also, Africa Bajabagudi, they also want to compete with those. But what is happening now is they are now appealing to the consumers of those satire spaces.
Yes, exactly.
And how many they consume mainstream products, the way that they wear. Cannot be going and see as many as also.
On the same vein, now you reminded me, because I also monitor and watch a lot of international news. I've noticed that they haven't changed.
No.
They've still stuck to the traditional method of writing.
But for those, it makes sense because they made sure, and again, also it makes sense because as their consumers, their digital awareness, it's a big issue.
It is.
They still sell their newspapers on the e-copies, right? Here, we know it's a struggle. So what they're doing is trying to say, okay, fine, even advertisers now, they want to advertise on a digital space than it is on a hard copy. So how do you get the same advertisers on the social spaces? Now we're even now going the route of the other pages that are like for jokes and everything.
Now, that's where we have to find innovative people to take up such big posts, because it's I think we need a total podcast on this, whereby we're finding people in different spaces and different higher positions, ranking positions, which are very influential, but they're failing to manage or take on the competition that's coming now.
I'm sure there's a lot of also, like as a journalism entity or fraternity, I think there's a lot of investment that has been already been put to have, online journalism as a proper course as well, to allow people to also see how best they can actually grow in that. And I know in a lot of these companies, there are a lot of people that are also trying to find ways, like you're saying, to compete. But at the end of the day, it still goes back to what is the essence of our activities. Because you can have all the knowledge, but if the knowledge is misplaced, it still becomes a problem. So that's why I'm saying that lately, even television stations that we knew, Timone na Kunyumba, Kuridiaset, Pativi, Panoba, they're investing to be online. And they're going live and all this. You find a good one have it on live on a selfie phone, right? And then imagine a whole media house. They're using, they're even editing using my mobile video editors, which have logos at the end. You can actually see good. It's a free app, which we all knew that as a media house, you're supposed to have like a registered and properly organized software. So how do we get at a space where that is, taken serious for? Because now that's why Panoba, I don't think there's a media platform, especially this mainstream, that people go there for the story that's been there. People go there to even
satire.
Make jokes.
Just for satire.
There's a few that really have that. And even in the time where they create something that's so, serious, no one is actually taking it serious. Just like I think today, I was looking at some posts and people have gone on some old posts of some media house about someone who passed, and someone is like, no, Dinaribe phone, rest in peace, and they're saying it that today.
Not a bit data.
But that is coming not because someone is just rude. No, but the pages themselves, they've allowed people to think that it's okay to do it. Because like I said, tose tunapita ma gardens okuti muli maluwa. Ukaona ino yakakuendamu iwe sumagenda nawo. Kwa malo okuti, the way when the president's carpet is put.
You cannot.
Right? I said that carpet. Even
I've been tempted a couple of times.
Because they have made you know what I say. So a lot of us were failing to understand how it's so important to create something so sustainable, even how we think. So man, it's but again, when we say stuff like this, the problem is the challenge that comes in. It's like, okay, in your name, it's harder. Not really. I think we're just sharing what we think, could be.
I'm also aware of that because we all have got different mindsets, and the way we approach things are totally different. And I know obviously there's someone who's going to have an opposing view. If you got any contribution, maybe please send us your comments. It's very, very welcome to hear what you think about what we're discussing. Now, despite everything else, I think we're going through, very, very different times in terms of the entertainment sector in Malawi, whether you talk about music, poetry, drama, spoken word. And I think the progress has been there. The past few years, we've seen huge progress made. And now there's, I remember a couple of days ago, someone was mention 10 big artists that you know, despite everything. And I mean, it's interesting to find new names coming up almost each and every year. Because if I'm to ask you even 10 artists now that you believe are doing very good in Malawi now, and next year you definitely, the list will change. There'll be similar names, but 2 or 3 names will change, which means there's new names coming up and progress being made almost every year.
A lot of it. And then, like I said, there's a this is why I said we're in that knowledge or information phase where there's so much that has been allowed to have access to. And that had, Garigali, you wouldn't have teenagers doing music full time, not just music, but like DJing, photography, videography, and all these other, platforms that they've created. So that has allowed that hunger to be met with something that they can really eat on. And that is so important because it is what has made people to have top 10 every year.
Very true.
Different artists.
Very true.
And also, these youngsters, they're really putting in work, man. I think where we're going, again, for me, I always think that the industry that can save the country,
GDP,
is actually the creative industry, because all you need is the people. You just need someone who can operate a camera. You don't need 500,000 people. No, you just need one guy. When you go on radio, it's just you. They just need a joiner.
I find it tough doing these things because, it's people behind the cameras.
Yeah, but now, that's what I mean, that for us to create, so you see, if Joy is able to create 10 people behind, that's what I'm saying, you just need a joiner who's going to create a multitude of people around him.
Yeah.
So you just need one Lucius Banda who's going to have a whole Zambani band.
Yeah. So you need one pivot, one guy.
So that's what I'm saying, that it's while companies, if they, creating value for a creative is, I would say, it's almost it's an ongoing process, but it just needs the right steps.
How tough is it to create a brand in Malawi? How tough is it? It's not tough?
I think that's a broad way to ask it. Because what kind of brand are we looking at?
We're talking about music.
Okay.
Because you're talking about just one guy.
Yeah.
But here now, I'm going in the sense that we haven't created anyone as big, continental or regional.
Okay. I think in that context, then we would have to dissect it, right? If I had to respond it in 2 layers, the first part is, how tough is it to create a brand in Malawi? It is as tough as any other job. It's not. The good thing about it is, it's not like it's not possible. It's possible. You just have to be aware of what you want to create, to who, for how long, and once those steps are met, then that's it. And honestly, the most important part as well is knowing that value is created, not said. You don't have to tell people that I'm a big radio host. People know. And how do we know it? If your radio ratings are high, your pages, like your activities, we know those things, So a lot of us, our value is usually we don't invest to create value. We say our value.
Mesa fumbi ndiwe mwini.
Eko mamwe nagaladi fumbi ndiwe kadeja.
Komanda na mwino kajiwiri.
Kajiwiri.
You say now. You say now. Ugamba za kare. Takamba za jiwiri.
No, but again, context. Your job is not to tell people how great you are. And this is the joke I usually say. And it's a bit, I don't know, it could be blasphemous, I think,
You want to talk about God?
No. But look at this. This is what I always say. The general term for, I stand to be corrected. The general term for anyone who creates, these things that we're doing is a creative.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A creative is a word that comes from where?
Jaja.
Creator, right? Mm-hmm. Why should a creative every day try to defend or define their value to the subordinates that he actually created things for?
Hey, bro, imagine waking up in the morning and wana mwamba midambo ya lemgedwa in the diru, in the big.
Think about it. God was like, every day he's trying to tell you how good and how mighty he is. Would you trust that he's actually
big? In the big,
that's it.
Know.
So for me, that's where my funny thought
now that
comes
is
from.
funny. That is funny. I got it. I don't know other people, but hey.
So for me, it's like you're a creative. As much as it sounds so silly, but
there's no
you're
need.
A creator.
Yeah,
A creator. The way I know a creator can be coming to Prince every day. Say, the big heroes in the past. I think God has his final way of finding ways to show me that he's actually that mighty.
Yeah.
And he finds it every day. Me waking up every day is a reason for me to know that he's actually that mighty. The fact that there's so many things I don't understand, up until whenever I'm allowed to know them, that's how big he makes himself to me. Like he makes sure that I know it, right there. So if as a creative, if I'm using the same analogy, why should every day be a point of focus for me as a creative to define and defend how big and how good I am at my art instead of actually just being it? Mm-hmm. Because the God I know, he just becomes him. Mm. He has his own way to showing up and showing good he's that good. Mm. The same thing. If you are a creative, the best thing you can do for yourself is, if you're growing that brand, is to literally just be it.
And keep growing it.
Keep growing it. You understand? That's the first part of that layer of the conversation. The second part about the international recognized brand. Mm-hmm. I've always said, and people think when I say this, I'm saying we can't. But all I say is, and we should be fine with it. Our obsession with international market is where a lot of us are getting frustrated.
We shouldn't compete yet. There's no reason. There's no need.
There's no need. Because if you go to the context conversation I gave you, we record in our bedrooms with our friends for fun. You understand? It's now that we are knowing we can stream music and get paid for it. We can have, a YouTube account and people pay. Even the money we're getting from YouTube in Malawi is not even worthy.
Posting.
To be fair.
Screenshotting, yeah.
It's not. We are now boasting about hitting 1 million views. Now, not this is 2024. We can count with artists that Wanisa 1 million.
Yeah, actually somebody did post on Facebook a couple of days ago, the videos. Yeah, which hit 1 million.
That should allow us to think, should make us think, quality as an industry. So before we want to do this thing of, we need to create an internationally recognized artist, it's a good idea. But it's okay also to say, okay, that's the goal we need to go. Not now. Because like I said, we are recording in our bedrooms. We are shooting videos out to with less than $1,000. And that was just a video they're shooting with what? $100,000. And they, when their song is out, amateur rules and midnight.
The numbers.
Ikamafika 1 a.m.
Numbers.
Bana.
Diamond platinums.
So, but when you look at Ina Diamond, maybe. But you look at Ina Diamond, they had to harness their value. Diamond has to understand, okay, fine. Inesu nikama limbaya ndima South Africans ndima Nigerians. Awawa thinga alikutari. What do? I have Kenya, Uganda, they all speak Swahili. Let me harness that value. So he literally went that route. That now the Nigerians heard about it. So now kama kambia ndandu haja sama kambia naguria kubempa value. Andu haja maziwa galura se mfana yu ngade ferufa roneke madolo ku Uganda, ku Kenya, ku Tanzania. Ni mfana mene. So if our approach to music is tikatenge wankuluyo tikule kunogo. Ai takula gai weyo. Kuti wankuluyo ukale mozi, mkale management. Zero. You know? Because even if you're doing a feature should make sense because you're tapping in each other's audiences. So if you don't have an audience, they will tap in your bank account. Because paying for a feature is very easy, to be fair. So I think it's where we are okay. We just need to allow ourselves to grow with our own steps, do the right things, and then we can see how far we are coming or closer to our goal. Because our goal is fine to us to have an internationally recognized entity. But that cannot happen because we want to. It will happen because we have set up infrastructures that will allow us to step in those spaces.
I think that I can buy. That I think is very well detailed and very well put. And we also would like to get your comments here on After Monday podcast. And this is how we shall have to end it today. We've got so much to talk about and so many things to eat. Huh? Yes. It's been great. So we had a wonderful conversation and we are going to be back with a whole lot more. And he's going to mention his name again before we close.
Prince Hongani Chikweba.
Yes, Prince, thank you so much. My name is Joy and we shall see you on the next one.